final piece of this is we're going to make our test suite extremely fast using parallel execution. So here, you'll learn how to create ridiculously fast tests and how to implement parallelization. It's extremely easy. I put this, by the way, while I'm talking here, give this command a run, okay? Run this command is going to execute all the tests in the solutions. Why I chose the solutions, because I know those work and I don't know the state of your current exercises. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. And so I'm running the solutions, which should be identical to your exercises, and see how long it takes to run without parallelization, okay? While I'm talking here. So one quote that I put here, and I strongly believe that nowadays in today's fast moving world with fast moving applications, it's pretty much impossible to succeed without parallelization in our test code. Because without parallelization, the bottleneck for our testing is how long the test suite takes. Depends on your organization. Some organizations, it's acceptable to take 24 hours. For me personally, I want every build. That means build the code, test the code, and deploy in under 10 minutes. So that's my requirement for my testing cycle. And so the more tests that we add, obviously, the bigger our test suite gets and the slower it becomes. And so one of the best ways to combat that is, instead of stacking tests vertically, we turn them horizontally and just run them in parallel. That's exactly what I was talking about, how it's better to have 50 1-minute tests instead of one 50-minute test. Because if we have 50 1-minute tests, we can run in 50 threads and our entire test suite will take a minute. While if we have a single 50-minute test, it'll take 50 minutes to execute, because the test has to finish. So when I ran this, just to save you all time, okay, for this little tiny suite that we created, which was 9 tests, okay, 8 tests execute, 1 failure. The 1 failure, of course, is coming from the visual test, which I left. It took 4 minutes and 1 second, okay? That's approximately 30 seconds per test at 8 tests. The problem with this approach that I have a question here, but we'll just tackle, is that it's, again, the more tests we have, the more this time is going to increase. There's no way around it except with parallelization. And so now go ahead and implement parallelization in your test code. It's super easy. Just copy and paste this in your POM XML as at the same levels of dependencies node. And then you're going to rerun the same command as before. Okay, I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes to do that. It's super easy. And in fact, we can do it together. I'm going to go super slow and we'll do it together and I'll run it. Okay. So we're going to come here. We're going to go to our POM XML. And this is possible because we're using JUnit and Maven. Okay. For example, JUnit is thread safe, so it's possible. If you wanted to do the same thing with TestNG, it's not possible. TestNG is not thread safe, so you would need to write extra code. I actually cover that in depth in a tutorial, but I just wanted to let you know that this is possible because of the technology choices that we made here. So we're going to come here at the same levels of dependency node. We're going to paste in our build stuff. I don't know why is it in red? Element build not allowed here. Oh, I think I meant there, because sorry, wrong place. It's at the dependencies, not dependency, because it's not a, okay. So the same level as here, adding this in. Okay, let me just quickly explain it. It's using Maven Surefire plugin. Here we're saying we want to run everything in parallel. This includes test methods and test classes. You can run it at the test class level. You can run it at the test method level. We're saying just run it all in parallel. Okay. I'm setting my maximum thread count to 100 here because in my sauce labs, I have 100 sessions that I can execute in parallel. Let me show you that. So look at my usage. I have 100 sessions that I can run in parallel. Now, I don't know if my machine can run 100 sessions in parallel at the same time, but I can definitely tell you it's close. I definitely have ran like 75 tests in parallel just on my machine. So my machine starting the test and executing in Sauce Labs, I've seen 75 tests running in parallel. If this is in a CI/CD environment, it's even easier because you can make your CI server much more powerful, or you can use multiple CI servers to run many threads in parallel at the same time. So anyway, I just set this to the maximum amount because if I do 110, I'm not going to get 10 extra threads to run in parallel from Sauce Labs because I don't have that available. This just said, yeah, use it unlimited to true. And then we don't need to redirect output to anywhere. We're going to rerun our tests with this enabled. Let that run. We can look here. So that was it. That was really all it took to enable parallelization. Let's take a look here. In a second, we're going to see 2 tests running in parallel. So you can see here, look at that, 2 threads running in parallel at the same time. And when it's done, this was the final outcome for me. The same 9 tests finished in 54 seconds. So what that means is the 78% speed improvement in less than 5 minutes, right? It was literally just copy and pasting this. Of course, one very critical piece of parallelization is my code was structured correctly to allow parallelization from the beginning. But after that, just adding this, we got a 78% speed improvement, 0 degradation in our test quality, and we enabled parallel scaling. So what this means now is I can keep adding tests, and as long as they are no slower than my slowest test, that's probably one of my visual tests, right? Like, let's see here, my visual test. One of these tests is going to be my slowest. It'll take like 2 minutes, let's say. Any test that I add that's below 2 minutes and that also doesn't exceed my 100 parallel threads capacity will never increase the test suite runtime because it's just another thread that's going to be added. And so until I exceed those 2 parameters, my test suite is always going to be this fast up to as 100 tests, or until I get like a test that's 3 minutes in there. And then my entire test suite is going to take only 3 minutes, even though I can have like 100 tests in there. So hopefully that makes sense for you all. And hopefully that connects all the dots in terms of parallelization. And exactly what I was talking about was more tiny atomic tests running in parallel is way more powerful than a few giant tests. I put a link here to a case study I wrote, how I helped that customer achieve 97% test suite runtime. It was a number of things, but the 2 primary attacks were making tests atomic and parallelization. You can do this locally. You can do this in remote. Locally, we are limited by our computer's processing capacity. So again, as I've said, I've been able to run like 75 threads in parallel, but those virtual machines were being spun up in Sauce Labs. Can your machine handle 75 browsers being ran at the same time? Probably not. You know how much computing capacity Chrome consumes, right? But it can probably run 20, 30 at the same time, depending on the machine. So locally, that's a disadvantage. That's why regardless of where I work and who I work with, I always have a cloud grid environment because the scaling is just insanely easy. Yeah, everyone. So just thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. I hope everybody learned a lot. Take it to your workplace, improve your testing. I linked a bunch of extra resources here that I talked about, but I didn't cover in depth because we unfortunately only have 3 hours. But you can learn a lot more there. Again, thanks so much. It's been so much fun. And I'll see you all later. Bye.